the men on the front lines of this battle for Florida Congressman Ron DeSantis. All right, good evening, Congressman. I want to start, I want to make clear that there's a bunch of committees. You've got the Nunes House Intelligence Committee. That's the one that Nunes and Gowdy are on. What we now know, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that this intel investigation by the FBI and Strzok was started without any real intel. Is that right or wrong?
Yeah, so they've got access to the 2 pages. Now, I haven't read it, but the Intel folks have. And basically, you had this Papadopoulos tip from him popping off at a bar. There was no credible intelligence on that 2-page document. And, of course, this is Peter Strzok, the infamous FBI agent who said that we can't afford the risk of a Trump presidency. You need an insurance policy. He's the one that opened it, based off the thinnest of reasons. Okay,
so then let's move over to the House Judiciary that you're on. And you've been asking for about 1.2 million documents for, what, a year now? And every time you get close, Rod Rosenstein runs to, you know, the White House, or he runs, you know, to make sure that people's names are redacted, including Andrew McCabe, who's now fired, gone. And how many of those 1.2 million documents do you think you've got?
Oh, I think it's maybe been a quarter of them under the agreement between the relevant chairman and Rosenstein. So I don't even know that we've received all of those yet, of just that small batch.
All of the quarter that you're referencing.
Yeah, there's a lot of them that are still out there.
Do you want to tell me why your committee is so impotent?
Well, I think what you have to do is when you set a deadline, the next day you need to send a contempt hearing for Rosenstein. And then if he doesn't turn over what you want, you hold him in contempt. And then if he remains...
Not you, but it's not being done. So who should do it?
You need to do it. I mean, and the danger is...
I can't do it. You do it.
I support doing it, Judge. I'm not a chairman, so I can't call that myself. But I'm advocating for doing it, and I'm supporting people, you know, like Chairman Meadows, Subcommittee Chairman Meadows is pushing as well. We need to have consequences, because otherwise what they're going to do is they're going to trickle some out, they're going to stonewall, then trickle some out, and they're not actually going to do it. And another part of this are the redactions that they're doing.
Yeah,
a lot of these redactions are not really done to protect our national security.
Oh, that's a bunch of
hogwash. They're more being done to protect different bureaucrats in the FBI. They tried it with a federal
judge, Ron, and the federal judge said, don't laugh at me, guys. You can't expect me to believe you have jurisdiction when you don't have proof of it. You go into a grand jury, you indict someone for something they did 11 years ago when you're investigating something that happened a year and a half ago. So, but this guy, Rosenstein, is running amok. Who controls him?
Well, I mean, ultimately, you know, I think Sessions should be in charge, Judge. If you look at the questions that they're trying to ask the president, very few of them have anything to do with the campaign. A lot of it was transition stuff in the early months of the Trump presidency. There's no reason Sessions should be recused. If anything, Rosenstein should be recused, because he's the one that wrote the memo saying you should fire Comey. Sessions.
This guy doesn't have the chutzpah, whatever you want to call it, to get rid of Rosenstein. But here's the thing. Mark Meadows, he was on my show a few weeks ago. He started talking about, we're going to impeach Rosenstein unless we get this stuff. The next day, the Department of Justice calls and says, we're going to start moving this along. We got a new process. Well, you know what? You guys are having the wool pulled over your eyes. You ought to just impeach the guy and get it over with. You got a federal judge frustrated. The American public's frustrated. You're frustrated. And this guy's laughing at all of us because he scared the hell out of Jeff Sessions, who decided to recuse himself. He still doesn't know why.
And Rosenstein has bungled this from the start. He shouldn't have appointed Mueller. Then when he did, he's let Mueller basically run wild. He's not imposed any discipline on this at all. And he seems to think that he is superior to Congress and even the president.
That
just arbitrary decisions at the Justice Department, he considers that to be the rule of law. That's not the rule of law.
Did you hear what I said?
I didn't.
I said he is superior to Congress and everyone else because he's not listening to anyone.
Right. No, exactly. And that's why the accountability that you talked about with Meadows, with holding him in contempt, if you're not willing to do it, then he's going to keep doing what he's been doing. So let's bring accountability to him. I think what will happen is I think you get the documents very quickly.
Appreciate everything you do, Congressman. Talk to your chair. Have a good evening.
I will. I'll tell him the judge said we need to end this now. We need the documents.
And I'll see you in Israel next week.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
All right. And Snoop Dogg makes it onto the list of this week's outrageous comments. Candace Owens joins me live next.